So why are you here today?
I am an anthropologist and I teach at a university in the United States. And I've been studying this process since 2015. I've written a book on it, and it's going to be coming out next year, in the middle of the year, April. And in it, I explore what this whole process means for different people. So the people I focus on, because there are many, many people here. So the people I focus on are people who are from where I was born, Bangladesh. So I've been looking at how Bangladesh is doing in the process. It's a very poor country, so I've been very interested to find out how it is that poor countries navigate this process. I've also been talking to activists and trying to figure out how they've been trying to keep justice in the picture. And I've also been talking to the various experts and the UN Secretariat officials who are involved in making this possible. And I've been evaluating whether this is a good process or not, if it will deliver on its promise or not. And I don't have a strong answer, in the sense that I feel like we have to do a lot of different things. This can't be the only way to go forward, because this only focuses on the heads of governments, and countries are made up of lots of other people, young people like yourself, etc. And so everybody has to do their thing. And so putting your faith entirely on this process is not enough. We have to figure out how to put pressure on our governments to be more ambitious about emissions reductions, about helping our poor countries like Bangladesh and so on.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really
Very
cool.
long answer, sorry.
No, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's really cool. I haven't heard that yet. I think that's a really good that's very interesting. What do you think about the misinformation around climate change? Some people don't think that climate change is real because they see incorrect information about it and stuff like that. So what do you think about the misinformation or disinformation around climate change?
So the difference I make between misinformation and disinformation, misinformation is just what people come to have a wrong opinion or understanding based very often on their own experiences, right? So if you're in a country like Bangladesh, which you know to be very tropical and has rains and floods, so when you see a flood, you don't naturally connect it to climate change. You just think, oh, it is, a flood, right? So, but that's a misinformed perspective, because the frequency with which floods are happening are much greater than it was in previous generations. And many of the floods that are happening now doesn't have so much to do with climate alone, but also has to do with the fact that countries have cemented their surfaces, and so there isn't enough porous surface for water to go away. So it's a combination of things. And so if you only base it on what you know and what you've observed in your own experience, then you're very likely to be misinformed when it comes to climate change. Disinformation is when there is deliberate use of wrongful information, and it's done so as to throw people's attention from the real issues or to misinform deliberately about certain issues, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, you can imagine disinformation being what tobacco companies were doing for years. They had studies that already showed the bad effects of tobacco. They suppressed it, and they let it be thought of cigarettes as a recreational drug, right? And so in a way, that was deliberate omissions that led to wrongful policies, wrongful behaviors, etc. That is much more harmful, because that comes from a place of wanting to make profit, of selfishness, greed, etc. But misinformation is something that all of us can have, right? So I guess the onus of misinformation is to actually make the effort to really learn what climate change is. And the onus on disinformation is to watch that, is to actually survey it and to actively try to expose it, right? So they're two different things with two different strategies.
For sure. I think that's a really important distinction to make. And so, what do you think like youth, specifically like youth, can do, or like teens can do to help fight climate change? I guess. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a teen, so I can't speak for a teen, but what I myself do, because I am in the academic field, I mean, a lot of what I do is really learn to correct my own misinformed opinions and to communicate it through the courses I teach and so on. So one of the courses I teach is called Picturizing Climate Change, and it's trying to look at how it is that sometimes data is misrepresented to us, right? And so how we look at maps and data and graphs, etc., also has to be made more sophisticated, right? So that's one of the ways in which I try to contribute. As I said, I do a lot of public work in the sense that I write books and I speak about them, etc.
Yeah.
In terms of teens, I really, really think that teens have to kind of, in some ways, really own this problem because it is your future,
Yeah.
right? And the more you can get yourself involved in finding out about what's going on here, putting pressure on your own governments, on your own politicians, finding out how you can change the habits of your parents, you know, and so on. I would say that I think children now, youth today really have to, in some ways, seize back power from the grown-ups, because the grown-ups, they're not bad people, but they're used to doing things in a particular way. And they're also brought up in a context in which they have followed their parents and their parents followed their parents, and everybody improved, right? But if the grown-ups today continue to do what they're doing, the future generation is not going to find it improving, right? So in some ways, to take back some, decision making, some knowledge, some authority, and to put pressure, on grown-ups.
Yeah, for sure.
As you've seen, for instance, with Greta Thunberg, one of the very important things she does is she doesn't claim to be a scientist. She doesn't claim to be a policy woman, right? What she does is she knows her science, she knows the policy, and she tells grown-ups to feel ashamed of how little they've gotten done.
Sure. Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was really fun and informational.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah, where do you teach, if you don't mind me asking?
I teach at Hopkins, which is in Baltimore.
Yeah, I go to high school in the U.S. I go to school in Illinois.
Okay,
So,
cool. Where in Illinois?
Northern suburbs.
Okay.
So like near Northwestern.
Okay, got it. Evanston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Evanston, near that.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And what are you doing here?
Yeah, so I have, I'm like an observer here, and
Sure.
I'm kind of just like, in addition to that, I'm also just like talking to people and trying to learn, like, just trying to like learn more, and also I'm doing like a speech in one of like the side like panels, on misinformation for like a few minutes, I think on Friday, so, just trying to spread like kind of what I learned.
Excellent. Very good. Yeah. Resilient Frontiers is a very interesting pavilion. If you're interested, you should come by and see what, all of these pavilions will have events going on every single day. So you can come through and find what's interesting. There's also the youth group. Do you know the youth constituency, Youngers?
Oh yeah, I just talked to them.
Yeah, okay. So they also have their side events, etc., that you can follow. So, and then there are other side events that you can follow. So there's a lot going on that you can, I think, benefit from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
And people can benefit from your presence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like only the first day and I've already like done so much. It's very exciting. Yeah.
Great, excellent. Welcome.
so much.
要非常重。